2,000 people, spotlights, panels, applause. It was a massive cybersecurity conference in Dallas. I was dressed sharp. I was confident, mic'd up on stage, saying all the right things in front of this huge audience. To anyone watching, I was on. Articulate, poised, respected. But inside, I felt numb, and I couldn't explain it. I had delivered those lines 100 times before in different environments, but in that moment, they felt dead, like I was a robot, a version of myself that once made sense, but no longer belonged. That was the first time I truly felt it, the gap between the version of me the world saw and the one quietly waking up inside. Let's break this down. Welcome to Uncage Yourself. I'm Matt Doan. On this show, we explore strategies to help family-focused professionals smartly graduate corporate life and build entrepreneurial freedom. Our goal? Maximize freedom, income, and impact. See MatthewDoan.com for more. Now, let's dive in. It sneaks up on you, this gap, where in one moment you feel like you're in alignment, you're good to go, and it'll carry you into the future. You're doing what you're meant to be doing, especially in the work world. Carries you forward, provides a nice life. But then you have these two different selves emerge. One side is your outer self. That's the version of you who performs, provides, complies. The one who makes it all look good from the outside, like I was on stage. Still doing the work, still in the role, still collecting the paycheck. But on the other side of this gap is the inner self. The one who's awake, restless, becoming. The one quietly whispering, hey, you're meant for more than this. That voice, it's not always clear, but it's undeniably real. You've likely felt it if you're listening to this. And between the two, there's this widening chasm. It feels sometimes like the Grand Canyon. At first though, it's pretty subtle. It looks like this. You start to lose interest in the very things you used to obsess over. You stop reading industry reports. You start deeply resenting your team's late night slide reviews and all those urgent fire drills that don't matter. They used to really matter, but now they don't. But you keep showing up. You keep playing the part. The outer self does that because that's what you've always done. That's what you know. That's what feels safe. Now, this gap, it doesn't shout. It simmers, it widens, until one day it just blows right open. And I'll tell you, I've seen some pretty nasty ways that it comes to life. I'm going to be real with you. As I see with many of my clients, when this gap becomes too big, the pressure and everything inside, this is when you see things like cancer, mini strokes, jolting awake at 3 a.m. from anxiety, nervous breakdowns, needing to step away from work for months, this guilt from checking out on your spouse and kids again, or this quiet shame and sadness that your life doesn't at all reflect your potential. This constant tiredness, those stress knots in your side, panic attacks, palpitations, even resentment towards your colleagues for climbing ladders and getting promotions and accolades you told yourself you don't even want anymore. That's how deep this programming runs. You've been in it for decades. And I've watched my clients ignore this gap until it swallows them whole. As I shared before, it gets really bad. Existential stuff. Marriages break, health falls apart, their kids become strangers to them. It's very sad. It's really disturbing at times. This is so much more than career fatigue. This is identity decay. And you can't close the gap with simple hacks and willpower to just try to feel better about this whole situation. This gap between these two selves, the inner self and the outer self, it's real, it's tangible, and it only widens the more you ignore it. As Dr. Benjamin Hardy said, willpower doesn't work, especially when you've got this much to overcome. You don't need better discipline. You need this wildly better environment to help close this gap. Let's talk about environment. It's not just a physical space or a group of people. It's the total system that shapes how you think, act, and evolve every single day. It includes a few things. First, the people you spend time with. Mentors, peers, coaches who model the life and mindset you want. Secondly, it includes the daily habits and rituals you engage in, how you start your mornings, manage your energy, and prioritize your focus. Thirdly, it includes the language and culture you immerse yourself in, the ideas, values, and stories that become this soundtrack to your growth. And you're not even aware of it until you actually step back and think about your thinking. What's going through your head? What thoughts? What language? And the fourth piece of environment include the structures and the accountability systems that keep you on track. This includes regular check-ins, workshops, group commitments that push you beyond your comfort zone. Think of it almost like joining a CrossFit gym. It's like that. Because if you didn't have a deliberate environment like this, that was like a forcing function for you to do better, you keep getting pulled back to the old patterns. They're too strong. Your outer world, especially all the people operating on that default path, it'll always reflect what's going on from your past. We need to break that pattern. So we need to step into a new environment. And that means investing time, money, energy to build a system that supports the person you're becoming, not just the person you were. So go back to that example about CrossFit. If you've ever been in a place like this type of gym, or even seen it, I'm sure you have, this isn't Planet Fitness. Pay $5 and come if you'd like. No, it's like I'm signing up, putting big money in. I'm going to be accountable. I'm going to have a tribe. We're going to grow together and we're not going to let each other fail. We are serious. We are working hard, pushing past our boundaries and breaking old patterns that don't serve us. In an environment like this, it holds you accountable. It makes new behavior feel normal. It surrounds you with others walking on the same path, not the old path. It anchors your new identity through reps and structures that say this is our new normal. And it provides a clear roadmap for changing your situation. And you've got to ensure that that environment works. So you do this by having skin in the game. Let's be very tangible, because where money goes, attention flows. You don't value things that are free. Think of all the free things you've gotten in your life. You don't value those things. If you got free courses you've received, checklists, books, and they're just cluttered in the corner or on your desktop, well, guess what? You don't care about them. To close this gap between the two selves and feel like you're in harmony, the environment is the key, so that you feel like you're in a place that feels right for you and closes the gap between the two. A transformational environment is not just for learning. It's a forcing function to do what's required to fundamentally change your life, to finally close the loop between who you are and how you actually live. So here's what that looks like in real life. I'll just give you a few examples of some of my clients. We obviously have an environment we work through. It's called the corporate graduation system. And in doing so, one of my management consulting clients, they recently were able to go from a chaotic 12-hour-a-day situation, always traveling, to cutting their workday in half, down to like 4 to 5 hours a day, without leaving their job, improving their marriage. They challenged the waste, they dropped the meetings, and created foundational space for something new. Another client started telling the truth to their spouse after 15 years of quiet suffering. Not the dramatic truth, but the honest, grounded version of saying, I want something different beyond just being the provider for our family. I want a magnificent, remarkable life where we feel great energy in our household. We don't feel this wall, but we actually feel like we can be at peace. And I need to do something different for my career so I can be that person for us, for our family. He had that discussion. Others, what they might do as far as using the environment, they might strategically plateau, choosing not to get promoted in a corporate system so they can redirect their energy towards what actually matters, or like building a business, right? These are all things that you can do when you're in the environment. The environment says it's okay to take bold action, like we do in our corporate graduation environment. It's about how do you give yourself permission to compress a day job that no longer serves you, to wind it down, to turn it into a tool, to explore your gifts, to spend your days much more like you want to actually figure out a business that lights you up, that serves people you care about in this world. That's what a good environment does. That's what closes the two selves gap. So you want to get to this place where mornings are truly yours. You start to get things like a well-defined 6-month path to leave corporate with clarity and stability, right? That's why you're listening to me right now. You want the start of a business that lights you up and reflects your genius. Maybe you want to push out that first manuscript of your first book. You want to get to a life where this gap is closed and you start to feel whole again. That's what we mean by corporate graduation, to close this gap. It's just another lens to put on this challenge. And my job is to actually just shine lights in different ways and say the same things again and again in different ways until it clicks with the right people and they say, I'm going to do something about that. So we're talking about the two selves today. There's the inner self and the outer self. Ask yourself, how far apart are they? Is that gap widening? What's it doing to my life, to my family? Because until you close that gap and it becomes too big to ignore, it can really tear you apart. Don't let that happen. Sense what it is right now. The longer you tolerate this gap, the wider it grows. Willpower won't close it. A job switch won't close it. Wishing certainly won't close it. Tiny behavior tweaks won't close it. It takes bold, decisive action. And like I said, it takes a new environment. Uproot yourself, put yourself in a place with new people, beliefs, and behaviors to help you stay true to your vision. In this case of graduating corporate life, you might check out our upcoming labs. So check out lab.corporategraduation.com and see if what we do there, it's a free workshop that you can apply for. See if it fits for you. You can see the aims we have, the things we teach, the truths we tell. It's a place for you to stop, spend a couple hours with us, and have some of the most honest conversation you've ever had in your life about where you are and what you need to do differently and what's possible. So check that out if it serves you at lab.corporategraduation.com. So I'll leave you with this today. That gap between your outer self, how you're performing, and that inner self, how you're feeling, how big is it? Is it growing apart? And what are you going to do about it? Frankly, how much longer are you willing to live in that gap? Reach out if I can help you. I'm always on LinkedIn, as you know, and hope to chat soon. Thanks. Thanks for listening to Uncage Yourself. Check out MatthewDoan.com to subscribe to the podcast and view our services and helpful resources. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening, or just tell a friend. Talk soon.